there's no serious, full-length diplomatic history of India-Pakistan relations. There's a lot of invective and there's a lot of memoirs, but no serious academic study of the relationship between the two, which astonished me. There's good books on U.S.-India relations, U.S.-Pakistan relations, and there's a lot of books on the wars between the two countries and the crisis. There's no serious academic book. There's only one other academic book on India-Pakistan relations. That is by T.V. Paul, an edited volume, which is very good. I recommend it highly. I came to this subject 50 years ago, exactly, when I was talking to British Indian Army generals in London over a period of about a year, among other people. And it occurred to me just this morning that in British India, as well as Mughal India, the purpose of the military was to unite and to govern and help economic growth in South Asia. And the purpose of the military in South Asia now seems to be to perpetuate a conflict between India and Pakistan. While the Pakistanis may be more culpable in this regard, the Indian military has played its role. So in a sense, this book goes back to my early origins as a scholar of the Indian military, which began in London in the 1960s. Secondly, I think that Kashmir is not the heart of the problem, but it is a part of the problem. It's both a cause and a consequence of India-Pakistan hostility. The book makes that argument, as I've made in a lot of other books. Thirdly, the recent elections in Pakistan, plus the improvement in U.S.-Pakistan relations, are necessary but not sufficient conditions for the normalization of India-Pakistan relations. I think we now play a critical role between the two countries, but we haven't thought much about how we're going to exercise that role. Strobe and Ambassador Pickering did a lot of emergency conflict management at various times, but I think we have to think more seriously and more long-term about our role and their role in the normalization process, which is, as Tanvi says, I think may not happen at all. We may go on for another 35 years, which would be 100 years of conflict between India and Pakistan. So the analogy with the Israelis and the Palestinians, I think, is very apt. And it's hard to tell which is the worst conflict in terms of depth and endurance. There's a discussion of that in Chapter 5 in particular. Fourthly, I think we need to take process more seriously and analytically. Neither hope nor despair are good guides to policy. And I was told by George Shultz once that hope is not a policy when I served my 2 years faking it as a government official. And then I heard from a Pakistani diplomat friend, he said, well, hope may not be a policy, but despair is also not a policy. So somewhere between hope and despair, I think there's room for creative policy initiatives, both on the part of the Indians and the Pakistanis, and of course, the United States and also the Europeans. Finally, I think the U.S. is partly responsible for South Asia's ills. Good intentions are not enough, and we need a strategy that sees India and Pakistan as a whole. The dehyphenation policy, which Ashley was part of, was wise at its time, but I think we need to get beyond dehyphenation. I won't say rehyphenation, but to treat the two countries as neighbors, which they are neighbors. Since India will be the world's most populous country in a few years, and Pakistan could be the world's fourth most populous country, and they both have nuclear weapons. There's not a trivial matter. So I think we have a role to play in this, and I think, of course, India and Pakistan need to re-examine their relationship. Do they want to have another 35 years of conflict, which would add up to 100 years of conflict between the two?